Hello, YouTubes. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Nicholas W. Fuller. I'm a writer, I'm a gamer, I'm an actual human, not a robot. But today I'm coming to you as a bit of a philosopher, maybe a thinker. I don't know. I'll let you decide. But yeah, I posted my first video a little bit more than a week ago. Thank you if you already watched that. A friend of mine from high school checked it out and had a comment, and he said it was great. And he also said, have you dived into this AI stuff that's rearing its ugly head? Art world has been freaking out about it all. Seems like by next year, AI can be writing/drawing everything. So my friend, he's a graphic artist, I think just as a hobby still, but he used to draw some cool stuff in high school, and he even drew this amazing illustration for my work in progress book that has been an awesome inspiration for a while. Thank you, Brian. But yeah, he made that question, and I thought it was interesting enough that I want to do a video about it. So yeah, if you find this kind of topic interesting too, go ahead and smash that like button for me. And so what we're talking about is like DALL-E, ChatGPT. There's other ones out there, but there's these different AI systems that can either generate, graphic arts or written text. And yeah, I mean, I've checked it out. I think it's interesting. It's fairly talented. I put in air quotes. You can get some interesting stuff from it. And I think it has some interesting applications. One example, a good friend of mine, actually, Julian Grajales, who I did that interview with in my second video, he wrote a short story, and with that short story, he used DALL-E to create an image with it, right? So this short story was about a dragon in New York City that was like, the dragon had a subway car in its back, so the dragon is the subway, and the dragon is the subway conductor. Kind of a fun, creative concept. I really liked it. But, he couldn't execute a drawing of a dragon, but he used DALL-E to make an illustration of a dragon with kind of this conductor uniform. It's great. Had it not been for DALL-E, like that piece of the art, the short story wouldn't have had an accompanying graphic at all. So I think that's kind of a neat application of that. It's not like he took away from an artist, because there never was going to be an artist to make that illustration for him. He just was able to do that with that AI. That's kind of fun. As a reader, I also can definitely see like a future someday where we'll be able to say, hey, I've got this afternoon to kill on the weekend. I'd love to read a story with this kind of hero. Maybe they're trans, maybe they're in a relationship with, two other people, whatever. Maybe they're fighting aliens to save the whole universe, whatever. Whatever floats your boat, I'm sure that someday you can pick like the exact sort of different features that you want in whatever length of a story you want to get a very niche story that, fits your specific preference for that time. And I think the AI could kind of create something that will check those boxes for you, And that's kind of an interesting idea. And I think, as readers and content consumers, that should be exciting. But also, I think that, AI isn't going to fully replace, artists and stuff. My title for this video is AI will never replace artists and authors, right? And so far I've talked about the things that they will do, but I guess I should say AI will never fully replace artists and authors, maybe, But yeah, I'm thinking back, trying to think of different ways that I think AI is just not going to kind of compete. So one of them, if you think back to kind of the early 2000s, there's a story called Da Vinci Code that was a huge book, a big international phenomenon, right? I really have a hard time believing like an AI could come up with the concept for Da Vinci Code. I mean, maybe someone could feed it the right stuff and it could help come up with some of the puzzles and stuff, but some of the genius of that story was the sort of reinterpretations of these really famous pieces of art into parts of this code for the whole story and plot, right? And it seemed plausible, even though it's probably not there, but took elements that we're all familiar with and reimagined them in a way that I don't think just an algorithm could do. So that's one thing I think, I don't think an AI is going to write all of Da Vinci Code all on its own and conceptualize that. Another really like more specific example, one of my favorite authors is Patrick Rothfuss, and he has really great elements into his stories. I want to read you a little quote from one of his stories. So the main character has spent some time in the archives, which is like the school library, with his best friend Sim and this other friend who's like a volunteer librarian. Her name is Fela. She's this beautiful woman at the school. Sim really likes Fela. Fela kind of doesn't really notice Sim very much until Sim talks about poetry, and Fela also loves poetry and finally really notices Sim, right? And so this is the passage. Quoth is talking about seeing that happen. He says, "Let me say this. It was worth the whole awful, irritating time spent searching the archives just to watch that moment happen. It was worth blood and fear of death to see her fall in love with him. Just a little. Just the first faint breath of love, so light she probably didn't notice it herself. It wasn't dramatic, like some bolt of lightning with crack of thunder following. It was more like when flint strikes steel and spark fades almost too fast for you to see. But still, you know it's there, down where you can't see, kindling." What a beautiful description of like such a human experience to see, two friends start to fall in love. This wasn't central to the plot. It's not a romance book. It's not even the main characters, right? Quoth is the main character. Sim, again, secondary character. Fela, even more so. But that description of such a beautiful human experience, again, I don't think AI would choose to work that into a story and not like describe it in such beautiful way. So, again, I don't think AI is just going to fully replace, right? But even if it did, even if like it could create these masterful works of art like Da Vinci Code or like, Wise Man's Fear, Name of the Wind, let me show you one thing. Even, with AI being amazing, AI for me is never going to be better than this, right? This piece of art is fantastic to me. Sure, technically, like, I think some of the color mixtures maybe could use a little bit more, that sort of thing. Maybe some of the lining art isn't proper, the perspective isn't perfect, yada, yada, yada. You could find technical fault with this, but to me, this painting is amazing. Why? Because this painting is of Castillo de San Marcos in Puerto Rico, and it was made by my grandmother 8 years before I was ever born. And my grandmother lived near San Juan, Puerto Rico for much of her life, especially when she was a little girl. This is cool. This painting like connects me with her and connects me with this place where my family like grew up, That's amazing. And AI could never have that kind of personal connection, right? Never. Similar to that, there's this other little piece of art that's usually behind my computer over there. And it's not good, right? This isn't impressive, technically skilled art, but I love it because this is the first piece of art that my daughter brought home from daycare when she was not even 2. And I love this, and it hangs up here in my office, and I see it every time I'm working. There's no way that AI, it just cannot ever, period, have kind of a personal connection with the consumer, the artist. And even if we're not talking about like this family connection, which is especially meaningful and special, Brandon Sanderson, early on in his career, he's a successful sci-fi author, very successful now, but early on in his career, he would go to different conventions and he would spend time like after signings with some of his fans and say, "Hey, I brought Magic the Gathering cards. Would you like to play this game called Magic the Gathering with me?" And he'd build a relationship with his fans that way. I'm sure that some of those fans are probably still fans now and like love every book that he puts out, in part because they feel like they know him and they feel like they've gotten to see him become popular and such. So that, I think at times you can't kind of remove the person from the piece, from the art piece, and that's a good thing. And I think something that savvy artists are going to keep in mind in the future, going to kind of work to build community and build relationships with our fans, because that can't be replaced by AI. AI is coming, and there's going to be some areas where it is going to kind of replace an artist. There's going to be some things where, like my friend, again, my friend with the short story, creating that little dragon conductor, again, that in that instance, there wasn't going to be an artist for that. It just wouldn't have had art. But those sorts of applications, sure, AI might take over. But for those of us that are really committed to creating something that people enjoy, building that audience is going to be important. So that's my take. What's your take? What do you think about this AI generated art, whether it's the visual art or whether it's stories? What do you think? Have you seen stuff you like, stuff you didn't like? And what do you think about its applications and maybe regulations? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Also, thanks for watching. Please smash that like and hit that subscribe button also. And if no one's told you yet today, you are an amazing collection of cosmic stardust, as we all are. And you look absolutely great in that outfit. Thanks.